Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tarnished Bronze. We've got a fantastic book that we're going to go over today on our Cult Comics Corner, and that is Tedward, the hardcover from Fantagraphics by the one and only Josh Pettinger. And we also have a special bonus story by Simon Hanselman of Crisis Zone and Meg and Mog and Owlverse fame. So, without further ado, I'm going to get into it. The first Pettinger I was aware of was some of these Goiter stories. So Goiter is another series by Josh Pettinger, and he published four or five or six of these issues, and they were later collected by Floating World Comics. And he's got a very sort of iconic style. It's a little bit very Simpsons-esque, very clean, but very surreal. And there's a little bit of seediness underlying this sort of style. There's a little bit of unseemliness. There's a little bit of of if I peel back this superficial layer, will I be confronted with a surrealist sort of more subversive streak? And so, as we can see, gorgeous cover here. The Fantagraphics edition is very lush, very luscious, very embossed. It's very glossy. It's kind of like really rich production values. And although I do have at least five of the eight stories collected in this hardback in zine form, the zines are black and white. So we really need to kind of promote that this is giving you some bonus material if you don't have some of the rarer zines, and also it's in full color. And my sort of untowardness with the work of Pettinger is kind of how he makes these rooms kind of a very odd sort of perspective. There's always something discomforting about his cartooning, as well as occasionally discomforting about the subject matter, which makes for a really rich reading experience, to be honest. So I'm not really going to go into page after page after page. I'm just going to flag a story or a panel from each of the stories here, excepting one or two very short stories, and just go into to some things that I like about this particular work. Um, so one of the really cool stories here, the first story is called Power Wash. That's where we start on um, the Tedward universe, so to speak. And essentially, we just kind of get roped into this surrealist orgy cleanup. So the business is an orgy cleanup. It's kind of a pyramid sales scheme where you kind of lease the equipment from the supplier, and then the supplier deducts costs and also, you know, consumables and so on. It seems like they're trying to get him in over his head so that you kind of become a company man. Anyway, their whole business model is essentially spritzing people down after these orgies. Um, and so it's done with a little bit of queasiness on behalf of our main character, Tedward, and a little bit of something is not quite right. There's something very peculiar aside from the main narrative that's going on in the background. As you can see, their spray is not just water; it's also laced with a variety of chemicals, including Viagra. And this has just got to be one of the funniest statements. Postcoital hygienist is a great job title. The second story here is Sex Trousers. Now, this is one that I didn't have in zine form. Um, and this gets into the embarrassment of getting undersized prophylactics, and indeed in just taking normal situations to the nth level. So kind of like those classic British comedies where you know you have an argument clinic. This is taking purchasing condoms from the chemist to an extensive level. There's a lot of backstory about why he's wearing these really peculiar pants as well. But nonetheless, you can just see on his face there in the fifth and sixth panels, just the discomfort, the sweat on the brow, this very sort of Simpsons-esque animation. Great characters, great color here. Reading it makes you uncomfortable in we have to read more. I don't know how this is going to turn out for Tedward. So another great little folly here, another great little tale of Tedward. So number 2 was sex trousers. Number 3 is the Simon Hanselman of Crisis Zone fame. So you might be able to recognize the work here. I think Pettinger colored this. I don't think Simon Hanselman colored this. It doesn't look quite like his coloring. But I didn't have this in the floppy form. This one is, the fact that there's the sex toys in the window there. This is probably one of the least non-safe for work pages. I do like how Hanselman has this strange 12-panel grid, so we get a whole bunch of squares. So one of the things that Keith Giffen and Simon Hanselman does is you always feel like you get value for money for a page because there's so much happening on each page. I don't know if Hanselman does that just as routine or if he does that when he's doing these shorter stories. I know from some of his other zines he has more comic-y layouts, but in these tales, especially Meg, Mog, and Owl, the main verse, he's got this 12-panel grid, and he does a pretty good job here with Tedward, and I do like the gimp suit at the end. So I'm not going to spoil this. This one is just another in-universe kind of foiling of Tedward's romantic plans. He goes out on this date. He finds someone on the internet. He buys her flowers, but he leaves the flowers behind at the original date site. And then as he's walking her home, he gets into this big embroilment. And then he gets excited at this sex shop and he bumps into his old lady, an old lady who lives next door, and erotic calamity ensues. So another really good story. This one here is one of the stronger tales in this hardcover, and one of the best individual comics that Josh Pettinger has made, and that of course is Warm Television. And I think it's my pick of the bunch. I really like it. It's got so many elements apparently from Josh Pettinger's life in this. I didn't know this, but apparently you can get coin-operated televisions right up until the early 2000s. And it seems like Tedward has had a stroke of fortune and he's got a job that he likes as opposed to hosing down people who have semen all over them from orgies. And he is just living his best life, collecting the coins. He's doing some maintenance on these coin-operated televisions, loving every second of it. The art is really picking up. We're getting these really rich kind of environments, and you can just see the swimming pool here. I'm loving the water. The water looks very much like a Sega Mega Drive or some sort of like mid-90s video game texture. Really, really great. The sort of bizarreness of the whole scenario is going really good. And we have a love interest for Tedward, who has a little bit of a twist when it comes to his gainful employment. And so Warm Television is kind of like a real heartbreaker of a story, actually, at the end. Is being moral and being perhaps correct more important than being human? That's the question that I think Josh Pettinger is posing here. And I'm going to skip New Look, and I'm going to skip Clown Meat. So I think Clown Meat was in sort of zine from American Nature. The American Nature zine from Floating World was where Clown Meat appeared. So hopefully that got some new eyeballs on Pettinger's work, but it's sort of a small thing here. The next story is Hot Rocks, and when it appeared first, it was in some sort of digest-sized zine. And so although I did really like the story, having it in this full-size comic really lets the artwork breathe, and all of those textures and extra time that Pettinger is really putting into the art, you can kind of see them magnified just very literally on the page here. And Hot Rocks is about that kind of scenario. Everyone has a friend or an acquaintance that just makes them somewhat uncomfortable. There's nothing really wrong that you can put your finger on, but nonetheless, there's some sort of barrier there. There's some sort of awkwardness. There's some sort of strangeness that emanates from this person. Pettinger here takes that to the nth degree. So the two people here have nothing much in common except for they both like scooters. And Tedward is out on his scooter and he meets up with this fella who has a slightly different Japanese scooter. So I don't think they're quite mods, but they're getting into the scooter culture. And they kind of want to hang out. This guy wants him to be his friend, and then the guy says that you're my best friend, and then it kind of escalates into the weirdness, and he wants him to have a shower with him and make a sauna. And oh, Tedward, how come you don't ever want to do what I want to do? And the story just escalates and escalates and escalates to a pretty satisfying conclusion in this tale. And once again, to see it on a full comic size is really cool. And yeah, just that discomfort is really well conveyed here. You know, why can't we do something normal? The last tale here is maybe not my favorite, but it is the one where Josh Pettinger himself has really kind of come into his own. There's a lot of detail. It's very expansive as a narrative. Just very, very good, very, very engaging. There's a lot of depth to the work, and there's a lot of depth to the cartooning. Is coming on in strides, especially with the shots that he's doing. So these above the head shots, and then these kind of like tunnel shots in this forest or in this park where they're walking around, and the colors add a lot here. There's a backstory and a front of story and a backstory that are really going on in Tracy Island. And no spoilers, but just what a fantastic tale. I'd love to have more. I'd love to have more Tedward. I'd love to have more Josh Pettinger. If you like this kind of thing, if you think that this sort of cartooning is something for you, you can get this on Pettinger's website. You can get this on the Fantagraphics website. He's also got a new comic book out that I'm super jazzed by. I can't wait for that to get delivered in the mail. Overall, I think Tedward is kind of this absurd, disorienting, and somewhat conspiratorial world. It seems like a kind of quaint. You can't quite place the era that it's in, but it is both modern and anachronistic. It's both contemporary with the 2020s, and it also seems to be in many ways embedded in the 80s and 90s. So it's with the activities that the characters get up to. It seems like Pettinger has let us into this secret community that exists, that is kind of like a take on The Simpsons that has been really, really pushing the surrealism, pushing the absurdity, and pushing the discomfort. That's what he's letting us into. So I'm really pleased. I'm really pleased that this is all in one place. It's very, very stylish. It's so joyful and so cynical all at the same time. And it is actually pretty hilarious. And this comes with the highest recommendation. If you're at all curious about some modern independent cartoonists who are doing it all themselves, do yourselves a favor. Tedward, Josh Pettinger, heard it here first. Like, follow, and subscribe.